I'm Logan, 30 years old, and a software engineer in Boston. Growing up, my sister Jessica and I were inseparable despite our 5-year age gap. I always had her back defending her from bullies, helping with homework, supporting her dreams, even when our parents clearly favored her over me. So when Mom texted that I wasn't invited to Jessica's engagement dinner, because it's just a small dinner, my world tilted on its axis. Before I tell you how this family drama unfolded, let me know where you're watching from and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt the sting of family exclusion. Jessica and I grew up in a modest suburb outside Boston. Despite the 5-year age difference, we were incredibly close as kids. I still remember her following me around the house when she was just learning to walk, her tiny hands grabbing at my pant legs while I pretended to be annoyed, but secretly loved being her hero. As the older brother, I took my role seriously. When Jessica started elementary school, and some kid named Tyler made fun of her gap-toothed smile, I was the one who walked her to class the next day and gave Tyler a stern talking to. Not my proudest moment as a 10-year-old, but nobody messed with my little sister. Throughout middle school and high school, I helped her with homework, taught her how to ride a bike, and later how to drive a car, even after she scratched up my beloved first vehicle, an ancient Honda Civic. Our parents, Martha and James, always had a soft spot for Jessica. It wasn't something we talked about openly, but it was obvious in 100 small ways. Jessica was prettier, more social, and eventually earned better grades than I did. When she performed in school plays, our parents canceled everything to attend. When I had baseball games, they'd often miss them for work commitments. When Jessica won awards, there were special dinners. When I got academic honors in my computer science program, I got a "good job, son" and a pat on the back. I accepted this dynamic because I loved my sister, and honestly, she was easy to love. Unlike many siblings with preferential treatment, Jessica never lorded it over me. She was sweet, appreciative, and always made time for me even when her social calendar got packed in high school. We had our squabbles, sure, but nothing that lasted more than a day or two. While Jessica pursued communications and marketing at a prestigious East Coast university, I took a more practical route. I worked my way through a state college, earning a computer science degree while juggling part-time jobs. It wasn't glamorous, but I graduated without the mountain of debt Jessica accumulated. I landed a position at a tech company in Boston and steadily worked my way up. By 30, I had a comfortable apartment, a growing investment portfolio, and respect in my field. Not bad for the less favored child. Jessica graduated and bounced between marketing jobs before finding her groove at a luxury brand management firm. That's where she met Ryan, the son of Richard, and Patricia Thompson, owners of a chain of high-end jewelry stores across New England. Ryan worked in the family business but had aspirations of expanding their online presence, which is how he and Jessica connected professionally before it turned personal. When Jessica first told me about Ryan, she was uncharacteristically nervous. "He's from a different world," Logan, she'd said, over one of our monthly dinner meetups. "His family vacations in the Hamptons. They have a yacht, for God's sake." But as she described him, kind, funny, unpretentious, despite his background, I could tell she was smitten. I met Ryan about 3 months into their relationship at a casual dinner. Despite my preconceptions about rich kids, I liked him immediately. He was genuinely interested in my work, asked thoughtful questions, and most importantly, looked at my sister like she hung the moon. We discovered shared interests in hiking and obscure indie bands, and by the end of the night, we were planning a weekend trail hike. Around that time, I'd started dating Amber, a graphic designer I met through a friend's art exhibition. Amber was talented, independent, and covered in colorful tattoo sleeves that told the story of her life's journey. Jessica seemed to like her when they met, commenting on Amber's unique style and asking about the meanings behind various tattoos. Ryan and Amber hit it off, discussing design principles, and our occasional double dates became highlights of my month. Throughout Jessica and Ryan's relationship, I remained her confidant. I listened to her anxieties about meeting his wealthy parents, helped her pick out appropriately conservative outfits for country club brunches, and reassured her when she felt out of place in their world. When she called me at midnight, panicking about a dinner at the Thompson estate, I talked her through it for hours, reminding her of her own worth and strength. I was also the first person she called when Ryan proposed, after 18 months of dating. She was crying so hard, I initially thought they'd broken up. He did it at sunset on his family's boat, she hiccuped through happy tears, with a ring that belonged to his grandmother. Logan, it's happening. I felt genuine joy for her, proud of the woman she'd become, and happy she'd found someone who appreciated her as much as I did. The wedding was set for the following spring, about 8 months away. I received a formal save-the-date card, with elaborate calligraphy, and got roped into conversations about venues and flowers whenever I spoke with Mom. Jessica asked if Amber and I would join them for a wine tasting to help select options for the reception. Everything seemed normal until it wasn't. About 3 months after the engagement, I started seeing social media posts from our cousins about attending Jessica's special celebration. Strange, I thought, since I hadn't heard about any event. I assumed it was just wedding shower talk, until I saw my aunt posting about the perfect engagement party venue with Jessica and Ryan tagged. That was the first moment I felt that peculiar twist in my stomach, the realization that something was happening in my family, and I was somehow not part of it. It started with an Instagram story from our cousin Megan, a selfie, with the caption, "Shopping for Jessica's engagement party this weekend. Can't wait to celebrate the happy couple." I paused, staring at my phone. Engagement party. This was the first I'd heard of it. I sent Jessica a casual text. "Hey, saw Megan's post about an engagement party. When is it?" Her response came hours later. "Oh, it's just a small family gathering. Nothing formal." I didn't think much of it until I saw more posts trickling in. Uncle Robert asking what to wear to the Thompson-Wilson engagement celebration. Our family friend Diane posting about having her hair done for Jessica's big night. Everyone seemed to know about this small family gathering, except me. So I called Mom, trying to keep my tone light. "Hey, what's the plan for Jessica's engagement thing this weekend?" There was a pause before she answered, her voice unnaturally bright. "Oh, that. It's just a small dinner, Logan. Not everyone is invited." Not everyone meaning me, I asked, the hurt already blooming in my chest. Well, you know how these things are. The Thompsons have a certain way of doing things. Very traditional. It's at Le Ciel, that new French place downtown. Le Ciel wasn't just any restaurant. It was the most exclusive dining establishment in Boston, with a 3-month waiting list and entrees that cost more than a day's wages for most people. This wasn't sounding like a small dinner anymore. My suspicions were confirmed later that day when my childhood friend Alex, who remained close with our family, called to ask if I needed a ride to Jessica's engagement party. 50 people at Le Ciel. That's going to be insane, he said. Your sister's really moving up in the world. 50 people. At a restaurant where the cheapest bottle of wine cost $200. And I, her only brother, wasn't invited. I scrolled through my contacts and saw that numerous extended family members were discussing outfit choices and arrival times. Second cousins we barely saw were invited. Mom's college roommate was invited. Dad's golf buddies were invited. But not me. I left Jessica a voicemail. Hey Jess, hearing a lot about this engagement party at Le Ciel. Just wanted to clarify if Amber and I should be there. Call me back when you can. She didn't call back. Instead, I got a text. It's really just a formality for Ryan's family. His parents are handling the guest list. Not a big deal. Not a big deal that her only brother wasn't welcome at her engagement celebration. The hurt was morphing into something sharper, something like anger. I confronted Mom directly the next day. I drove to my parents' house, finding her in the kitchen, arranging flowers clearly for the party I wasn't invited to. Why am I not invited to Jessica's engagement party? I asked without preamble. Mom's hands faltered slightly as she positioned a lily. Logan, please don't make this difficult. The Thompsons have certain expectations. They wanted a particular atmosphere. And I don't fit that atmosphere. My voice was rising despite my efforts to stay calm. Mom sighed, finally looking at me. Ryan's parents were very specific about who they wanted there. They're introducing Jessica to their social circle. It's important for their family business connections. I'm her brother, her only sibling. I know, honey, but they were concerned about. Well, she trailed off, rearranging flowers that were already perfectly positioned. About what? The guest list is very curated. Patricia Thompson asked about all family members, their backgrounds, their presentation. It took a moment for her meaning to sink in. They don't think I'm good enough to attend. Mom didn't deny it. They're very status-conscious, Logan. Jessica is trying to make a good impression. And I'd ruin that impression. Because I'm what a regular software engineer instead of some trust fund kid because I don't summer in the Hamptons. Mom's silence was answer enough. What about Amber? Is she invited? Mom's expression told me everything before she spoke. Patricia had concerns about Amber's appearance. The tattoos wouldn't make a good impression on their friends from the club. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. Not only was I deemed not sophisticated enough for this precious gathering, but my girlfriend was being judged for her artistic expression by people who had never even met her. So Jessica is okay with this, with excluding her brother and his girlfriend, because we're not polished enough for her new fancy in-laws. She's in a difficult position, Logan. She's trying to start a life with Ryan. His family is very important to him. And I'm not important to her. After everything, my voice caught, and I hated the emotion welling up. After everything we've been through together, after all the times I was there for her. Mom reached for my arm, but I stepped back. It's just one dinner, Logan. Don't make this about you. But it was about me. And about Jessica choosing status over her own brother. About my parents enabling that choice. I left their house with my thoughts spinning. When I told Amber about the situation, her initial outrage on my behalf quickly shifted to concern for how I was feeling. That's messed up, Logan, she said, her hand warm on mine across my kitchen table. But we don't have to let them dictate how we spend our weekend. What if we did something special instead? Her eyes held nothing but compassion. No judgment for my family's rejection. And in that moment I felt a clarity I hadn't before about who really had my back, about what family should mean. Something special sounds perfect, I replied, feeling the first glimmer of determination breaking through the hurt. Something far away from fake smiles and people who think they're too good for us. The next morning I woke up with an uncomfortable mix of anger and sadness sitting heavy in my chest. My first instinct was to confront Jessica directly to demand an explanation for why she was allowing her brother to be excluded from an event that was supposedly celebrating her happiness. I drafted several texts, deleting each one, as my emotions swung between hurt accusations and cold formality. Nothing seemed right. Finally, I called my best friend Marcus for advice. They did what Marcus's outrage was immediate and validating. Your own sister is letting her future in-laws blackball you from her engagement party. That's cold, man. I don't know what to do, I admitted. Part of me wants to show up anyway and make them deal with it. Another part wants to pretend I don't care. Marcus was quiet for a moment. What if you don't play their game at all? Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you upset or causing a scene. Just live your life like their snooty dinner isn't even on your radar. That thought settled something inside me. Why should I spend the weekend stewing about an event I wasn't welcome at? Why give them that power? When Amber came over that evening, I was still mulling over Marcus's advice. She listened to my circular thoughts before placing her hands on either side of my face, focusing my attention. Let's go away that weekend, she suggested, her eyes bright with sudden inspiration. Somewhere beautiful. Cape Cod. We can get a nice place right on the beach, drink good wine, watch the sunset. Make it a weekend they'll wish they were part of instead of the other way around. The idea took root immediately. We could invite Marcus and Hannah, I added, feeling a genuine spark of excitement for the first time since discovering the exclusion. Make it a friend's getaway. Amber's smile was wide. Now you're thinking. Let's do it up right, find the most gorgeous rental we can afford. Post amazing photos. Live our best life while they're all making small talk with stuffy jewelry magnates. That night, I spent hours searching for the perfect Cape Cod rental. I found it just before midnight, a stunning oceanfront cottage with floor-to-ceiling windows, a wraparound deck, and private beach access. It was more expensive than I'd initially planned, but something in me wanted to splurge. If Jessica and my parents thought I wasn't good enough for their fancy celebration, I'd create an even better one of my own. I booked it without hesitation, the confirmation email bringing a satisfaction that surprised me. Then, without overthinking it, I posted the cottage photos on Instagram with the caption, "Weekend getaway plans set. Can't wait to escape to this view," with @AmberDesigns at Marcus Johnson, and at Hannah Bright Cape Cod Ocean Views, friendship goals. It wasn't petty. Not really. I didn't mention the engagement party, or make any passive-aggressive comments. I was simply sharing my weekend plans that happened to coincide with an event I wasn't invited to. Jessica texted me within 20 minutes. "You're going away that weekend." I kept my response simple. "Yes, since I'm not needed for anything that weekend." Her reply came quickly. "Logan, don't be like that." I didn't respond. What was there to say? The next morning, Mom called. I almost let it go to voicemail, but decided to face the conversation head on. "Logan, are you trying to make some kind of statement with this beach trip?" Her voice had that familiar tone, the one that implied I was being difficult just to cause problems. "I'm going to the beach with my girlfriend, and friends on a weekend I have free. There's no statement." My tone was neutral, giving her nothing to latch onto. "You know, that's the weekend of Jessica's engagement celebration. The one I'm not invited to." "Yes, I'm aware." Mom sighed heavily. "You're making this more complicated than it needs to be. It's just one dinner." "It's not just one dinner, Mom. It's my sister allowing her future in-laws to decide I'm not good enough to celebrate with her. It's you and Dad going along with it. It's everyone pretending this is normal, when it's actually pretty hurtful." "Logan, I'm not causing a scene. I'm not showing up uninvited. I'm spending time with people who actually want me around. That shouldn't be controversial." "You're making Jessica feel bad." That one hit me right in the chest. I'm making Jessica feel bad by removing myself from a situation where I'm explicitly unwanted. That's an interesting take. You know how important this is for her future with Ryan, and my feelings don't matter in that equation. My dignity, Amber's feelings about being judged for her appearance by people who've never met her. Mom's silence told me she hadn't considered this perspective. "I hope the dinner goes well," I said finally. "I really do. But I won't pretend I'm okay with being excluded from my own sister's celebration because I don't meet some arbitrary standard of sophistication. I've booked the Cape Cod trip, and that's where I'll be." After hanging up, I felt a strange mixture of sadness and liberation. Setting this boundary was painful but necessary. I threw myself into planning the perfect weekend. Marcus and Hannah were enthusiastically on board, promising to bring board games and Hannah's famous crab dip. Amber and I went shopping for beach supplies, splurging on plush towels and a portable speaker for music on the deck. At the liquor store, I found myself lingering in front of the champagne display. On impulse, I selected an expensive bottle I'd normally consider way too extravagant. The cashier raised his eyebrows as he rang it up. "Special occasion?" he asked. I considered the question, then smiled. "Yes, I'm celebrating not being where I'm not wanted." He looked confused, but nodded politely. As I carried the bottle to my car, I felt a weight lifting. This wasn't about spite anymore. It was about choosing joy, instead of resentment, about surrounding myself with people who accepted me exactly as I was. Over the next few days, I rode an emotional roller coaster: anger, giving way to hurt, then to determination, then back to a dull ache of betrayal. Amber was my constant listening without judgment, when I needed to vent, distracting me with future trip plans when brooding threatened to overwhelm me. "This is about more than just one dinner," she said one evening, as we finalized our packing lists. "This is about setting a precedent for how your family and Ryan's family can treat you. If you don't establish boundaries now, this pattern will continue." She was right, of course. If I quietly accepted being sidelined now, what would happen with wedding planning? Would I be deemed unsuitable for certain pre-wedding events? Would Amber be cropped out of family photos because her tattoos didn't match the blunts the planned? Aesthetic. The thought strengthened my resolve. This weekend away wasn't just an escape, it was a statement about self-respect, and the kind of treatment I was willing to accept from the people who were supposed to love me most. The morning of the engagement dinner dawned bright and clear, perfect beach weather, as if the universe was confirming my decision. Amber and I woke early, excited about the 3-hour drive to Cape Cod and the weekend ahead. As I packed the last few items into the car, my phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Are you really not coming tonight?" I stared at the message, confusion, mingling with renewed hurt. I typed back, coming to what I wasn't invited. Her response came quickly. Of course you're invited. It was just assumed you'd be there. You're my brother. The audacity of this revision of reality made my hands shake slightly as I responded. That's not what Mom said. She specifically told me the Thompsons didn't want me or Amber there because we wouldn't fit in with their crowd. There was a long pause before Jessica's next message. That's not true. There must have been a misunderstanding. Before I could respond, another text came through, this time from Ryan. Hey Logan, just heard there's been some confusion about tonight. We absolutely want you and Amber there. My parents were asking if you'd be attending. Not sure where the wires got crossed, but we'd love to have you both. The convenient misunderstanding narrative was almost more insulting than the original exclusion. I showed the messages to Amber, who was loading her bag into the trunk. Wow, she said, eyebrows raised. That's some impressive backpedaling. What do you think? Should we cancel the trip, I asked, though I already knew her answer would align with my instincts. Absolutely not, she said firmly. Even if there was a genuine miscommunication, which I doubt, the fact remains that your mother explicitly told you we weren't welcome because we weren't good enough. That happened. And now they're trying to gaslight you instead of apologizing. She was right. The damage was done regardless of this sudden revision of the narrative. I texted both Jessica and Ryan variations of thanks, but we've made other plans now. Hope you have a great evening. Then I put my phone on silent and slipped it into my pocket. The drive to Cape Cod was therapeutic, windows down, music up, Amber's hand, occasionally squeezing mine across the center console. With each mile, I felt the knot in my chest loosening slightly. By the time we pulled up to the beach house, I was almost able to set aside the morning's texts. The rental was even more stunning in person. Perched on a bluff overlooking the Atlantic, the cottage featured weathered cedar shingles, a massive deck, and those promised floor-to-ceiling windows framing a view of endless blue. Inside, the open-concept living area was decorated in soothing coastal colors with comfortable furniture arranged to maximize the ocean vista. This is incredible, Amber breathed, dropping her bag to walk straight to the windows. Worth every penny. We were unpacking when Marcus and Hannah arrived, their car loaded with coolers of food and drinks. Marcus gave me a firm hug, the kind that communicated understanding without words, while Hannah immediately began organizing the kitchen, putting away the groceries they'd brought. I made the crab dip this morning, she called out, holding up a container. And I brought ingredients for my famous blueberry pancakes for tomorrow's breakfast. The afternoon unfolded perfectly. We settled on the deck with cold beers, catching up and laughing as the ocean breeze ruffled our hair. I checked my phone once, noting several missed calls from Mom and more texts from Jessica, but resolutely put it away without responding. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, we moved to the private beach access. Marcus and I set up a small fire pit, while Amber and Hannah arranged beach chairs in a semicircle. The first glass of wine as we watched the sunset felt like a small victory, a moment of peace I'd created for myself, instead of allowing others to dictate my worth. But peace is rarely complete when family dynamics are involved. My phone kept buzzing in my pocket, the vibrations like small electric shocks, reminding me of the parallel evening unfolding back in Boston. Finally, after the third consecutive call, Amber gently took the phone from my hand. Let me hold on to this for a while, she suggested. You're here with us, not there with them. Be present. She was right. I nodded, watching as she powered off my phone completely and tucked it into her beach bag. The relief was immediate. No more buzzing, no more nagging thoughts about what might be happening at Le Ciel. As darkness fell, our beach fire cast dancing shadows across the sand. Marcus opened another bottle of wine while Hannah assembled ingredients for s'mores. The conversation flowed easily, touching on work projects, future travel plans, and memories from our college days. Not once did anyone mention my family situation until I brought it up myself. Thanks for doing this, I said during a lull in conversation, the fire crackling softly before us. For dropping everything to be here with me. That's what real friends do, Marcus replied simply. They show up. It's still hard to believe Jessica would go along with excluding me. I admitted the wine making me more candid than I might otherwise have been. We were always so close. I was always there for her. Hannah nodded sympathetically. Family dynamics get weird when significant others enter the picture, especially when there's a socioeconomic gap. My sister married a guy from old money, and suddenly she had opinions about my career choices, my apartment, even the way I dressed at family gatherings. "How did you handle it?" I asked. "Basically what you're doing now." I stopped seeking her approval and focused on the relationships that made me feel valued. She passed me a perfectly toasted marshmallow. Eventually she came around, when she realized I wasn't playing that game. Marcus added, "My dad didn't speak to me for 8 months when I decided not to join the family construction business. Thought I was rejecting him by choosing a different path. It took time, but now he brags about his son, the architect, to anyone who'll listen." Their stories normalized my experience, making me feel less alone in this painful family navigation. As we built elaborate s'mores and shared more wine, I found myself genuinely laughing, the ache in my chest receding to a manageable dull throb rather than the sharp pain of fresh betrayal. Later, as Amber and I settled into the master bedroom with its panoramic ocean view, she asked, "Do you regret coming here instead of going to the dinner?" I considered the question seriously before answering. Even if there was some massive miscommunication, which I doubt, the fact remains that Mom explicitly told me we weren't invited because we weren't good enough. Coming here was the right choice for my self-respect. Amber smiled, curling against my side. "I'm proud of you for standing your ground. And selfishly, I'm glad we're here instead of making awkward small talk with people who prejudged me for my tattoos." As I drifted towards sleep with the sound of waves in the background, I felt a certainty that I'd made the right choice, not just for this weekend, but in the larger sense of choosing to be with someone who saw my worth without qualification. Whatever drama was unfolding back in Boston seemed very far away indeed. The peaceful bubble of our beach getaway burst at precisely 1:15 in the morning. Amber was asleep beside me, but I'd been restless, eventually deciding to retrieve my phone just to check for any emergency messages before trying to sleep again. Powering it on was like opening Pandora's box. 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, 9 voicemails. The notifications flooded in with such urgency that the phone vibrated continuously for nearly a minute. My heart rate spiked. Had there been an accident? Was someone hurt? I started with the voicemails, my thumbs shaking slightly, as I pressed play on the first one from Jessica. Her voice came through in a tearful whisper. "Logan, where are you? Ryan's parents keep asking about my brother. I told them you'd be here. They're making toasts about family unity, and everyone keeps looking at me. Please call me back." The next was from Mom, her tone sharp with anger. "Logan Wilson, I don't know what game you're playing, but you need to call your sister right now. You've embarrassed her in front of Ryan's entire family. This is completely unacceptable behavior." Dad's voice was next to rarity, as he rarely called anyone. "Son, there seems to be some confusion about tonight. Your mother's quite upset. Jessica's crying in the restroom. Maybe give us a call when you can." More messages followed, Jessica again sobbing now. Mom again transitioning from anger to guilt-inducing pleas. Ryan sounding genuinely confused and concerned. With each message, the knot in my stomach tightened. The text messages filled in more details of the unfolding drama. Apparently, Ryan's father had made a toast celebrating the union of their families, specifically mentioning all family members being there to support the couple. When someone asked about Jessica's brother, she'd been forced to explain my absence, leading to uncomfortable questions about family rifts. Ryan's mother had apparently asked pointed questions about whether there was family drama they should know about before proceeding with wedding plans. Jessica had fumbled through explanations that satisfied no one, ultimately blaming me for choosing a beach trip over family obligations. The most recent messages were increasingly desperate, with Mom demanding I drive back immediately for a brunch the next day. Ryan's parents, according to her texts, were insisting on meeting the missing brother before proceeding with any further wedding discussions. The final voicemail from Jessica at 12:45 a.m. revealed the truth behind the sudden inclusion. "Logan, I need you to come to brunch tomorrow. I told Ryan's parents you would definitely be at the dinner. I didn't think you'd actually not show up. Please don't ruin this for me. Ryan's father is really traditional about family unity, and now he's questioning everything. Please come tomorrow. I'll explain everything then." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Jessica hadn't told me about the dinner because she knew what Mom had said to me. She'd been part of the decision to exclude Amber and me. But she'd told Ryan's parents I would be there using me as a prop in her perfect family narrative without actually wanting my presence. Only when her deception was exposed did I suddenly become essential to the story. I sat on the edge of the bed phone, clutched in my hand, as Amber stirred and rolled over. "Logan, what time is it?" she mumbled, then became more alert when she saw my expression. "What's wrong?" I handed her the phone, letting her scroll through the messages while I tried to sort through my conflicting emotions. Anger at the manipulation. Hurt at the confirmation that Jessica had indeed been fine with excluding me until it became inconvenient. Frustration at being expected to drop everything and rush to her rescue. Amber read in silence, her expression growing increasingly incredulous. "Wow," she said finally. "Just wow. They want me to drive back for brunch tomorrow," I said, my voice sounding strange, even to my own ears. "To meet Ryan's parents and smooth everything over." Amber set the phone down carefully. "What do you want to do?" That was the question, wasn't it? Part of me wanted to ignore them all to continue our perfect weekend without giving Jessica's drama another thought. Another part recognized that this situation would affect our family dynamic long-term, potentially creating rifts that would be harder to heal the longer they festered. "I don't know," I admitted. "I don't want to reward this manipulation by running back at their command. But I also don't want this to escalate into something that affects Jessica's relationship with Ryan." Amber was quiet for a moment, considering. "We could leave early in the morning," she suggested finally. "Make it to brunch, set the record straight, and then come back here to finish our weekend. Marcus and Hannah could stay hold down the fort." The compromise had merit, but something in me resisted. Why should we cut our vacation short because Jessica lied? Why am I always the one expected to fix things? "You're not," Amber assured me. "And you shouldn't go if it feels like you're just playing into their manipulation. But if you want to go to protect your long-term relationship with your sister, that's valid too." I texted Marcus despite the late hour, knowing he was a night owl. His response came quickly. "Whatever you decide, we support you. But don't let them make you feel like the bad guy here. You set a boundary, they trampled it, and now they're asking you to rescue them from the consequences of their actions." His perspective clarified my thinking. This wasn't about me being difficult or unforgiving. This was about establishing that I wouldn't be treated as an afterthought, only to be called in, when convenient, for Jessica's narrative. After long consideration, I decided to go to the brunch, but on my own terms. I would not apologize for my absence at a dinner I was explicitly told I wasn't welcome at. I would not pretend there had been a miscommunication. And I would bring Amber, tattoos and all. "Are you sure?" Amber asked when I told her my decision. "I don't want to make things more complicated for you." "You're my partner," I said firmly. "If they want me there, they get both of us. No compromising on that." We set an alarm for 6 a.m., allowing time for the drive back to Boston. As I finally drifted toward sleep, my emotions were a swirling mix of apprehension and resolve. Tomorrow would either begin a healing process or cement the growing distance between my sister and me. Either way, I was done being a convenient prop in someone else's story. The drive back to Boston was tense, both of us running on minimal sleep and maximum anxiety. We'd left a note for Marcus and Hannah, promising to return by mid-afternoon if possible. Amber had dressed carefully in a stylish black dress that displayed her tattoo sleeves prominently but elegantly. I'd opted for business casual, respectable, but not trying too hard. Small rebellions perhaps, but important ones. Le Méridien, the upscale hotel, where the brunch was being held, screamed old money with its marble columns and doormen in crisp uniforms. As we valeted the car, Amber squeezed my hand. "Remember, we're not apologizing for existing," she murmured. "We're here on our terms." The private dining room was easy to locate. We simply followed the sound of forcibly cheerful conversation. As we entered, there was a moment of suspended animation as every head turned toward us. Jessica's face performed an Olympic-worthy routine of emotions, relief, anxiety, annoyance, and finally a bright fake smile. "Logan, you made it," she exclaimed, rushing over to hug me as if we were the closest siblings in the world. "And Amber, so glad you could join us." Mom's smile was strained as she approached. We saved seats for you both, she said, her eyes darting nervously to Ryan's parents at the head of the table. The message was clear. Behave, don't make a scene. Ryan actually seemed genuinely happy to see us rising to shake my hand firmly. Logan, good to see you, man. There was some confusion last night, but I'm glad you're here now. His parents were another story entirely. Richard Thompson was a tall, silver-haired man, with the confident posture of someone who'd never worried about money a day in his life. His wife Patricia was immaculately put together, her blonde hair, arranged in an expensive-looking updo diamonds, glinting at her ears and throat. Their smiles didn't reach their eyes as they assessed us, particularly Amber, whose colorful tattoos seemed to physically pain Patricia to look at. So this is the elusive brother, Richard said, his tone, making the words sound vaguely insulting. We missed you last night. Family events are so important to us Thompsons. The implication was clear. Missing the dinner had proven I didn't share their values. Yes, there seems to have been some confusion about the invitation, I replied evenly, holding his gaze. Confusion? Jessica assured us you were coming. We were quite surprised when you didn't appear. His tone suggested he found my absence personally offensive. I maintained my composure as we were seated, accepting mimosas from a hovering waiter. The brunch was elaborate, a buffet of smoked salmon quiche, fresh fruit and pastries that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Under different circumstances, I might have appreciated the spread. Small talk ebbed and flowed around us. Ryan's father made several passive-aggressive comments about family loyalty and showing up when expected. Patricia kept referring to Amber as interesting-looking, each word dripping with thinly veiled distaste. I bit my tongue, determined not to be the one to break the brittle veneer of civility. It was Jessica who finally pulled me aside, using the excuse of showing me the hotel's terrace view. The moment we were out of earshot, her friendly facade collapsed. What the hell, Logan? You couldn't just come to the dinner. You had to make a big statement with your beach trip. I didn't make any statement, I replied, keeping my voice low but firm. I made other plans when I was explicitly told I wasn't invited. Of course you were invited. You're my brother. That's not what Mom said. She told me in no uncertain terms that Ryan's parents didn't want Amber or me there because we wouldn't fit in with their crowd. Jessica's expression faltered. She shouldn't have said that to you. But it was true, wasn't it? I pressed. You didn't want us there, but you told Ryan's parents I would be attending. You can't exclude someone and then be angry they weren't there, Jess. Her eyes darted away, guilt written clearly across her features. It's complicated. It's really not. Either you want me in your life as I am, or you don't. But you don't get to hide me away when I'm inconvenient, and then trot me out when it serves your narrative. Jessica's voice dropped to a hissing whisper. Ryan's parents are very traditional. They have expectations. His mother saw pictures of Amber on social media and made comments. I was trying to navigate a difficult situation. By throwing your brother under the bus. By trying to keep everyone happy. Her voice rose slightly, drawing glances from a nearby server. She lowered it again. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The Thompsons aren't just Ryan's parents. They're our future business connections, our social circle. They're paying for most of the wedding. And that makes it okay to pretend I don't exist until you need me to play happy families. I didn't. She stopped, frustration evident. Ryan's father specifically asked if you'd be at the dinner. I said yes, because saying no would have opened a whole conversation I wasn't ready to have. I thought you'd understand when the invitation didn't come. The admission stung more than I expected. Understand that I wasn't good enough for your new family. That you were ashamed of me and Amber. Not ashamed, just. She hesitated, searching for words. Just what? Ryan's parents thought you weren't. Polished enough for their social circle. She finally admitted not meeting my eyes. They looked you up online, saw your casual style, your normal apartment. They're very image conscious. And Amber's tattoos. Stop. I cut her off, anger finally breaking through my carefully maintained calm. Just stop. You're actually standing here defending their judgment of us based on superficial nonsense. You don't understand. No, I understand perfectly. You're so desperate to be accepted by these people that you'll throw your own brother aside. The brother who helped you through school, who talked you through panic attacks, who was always in your corner. I didn't realize how loudly I was speaking until I noticed Ryan standing in the doorway to the terrace, his expression shocked. How much had he heard? Is that true, Jess? He asked, stepping toward us. Did you tell Logan he wasn't welcome at the dinner? Jessica's face paled. I didn't. It wasn't like that. Because my parents said you told them Logan had a work commitment, that he couldn't make it. Ryan's confusion was evident. They specifically asked about meeting your brother. The threads of deception were unraveling rapidly. I watched as Jessica struggled to reconcile her conflicting narratives. Your parents made comments about Logan's career and Amber's appearance, she finally said to Ryan. Your mother asked if that tattooed girl would be at family functions. What was I supposed to do? Ryan's expression hardened in a way I hadn't seen before. You were supposed to stand up for your brother. Tell me the truth so I could address it with my parents. Not lie to everyone and create this mess. We returned to the table in awkward silence. The tension was palpable as we took our seats, the polite conversation dying away as everyone sensed the shift in atmosphere. Patricia Thompson broke the silence with a comment aimed directly at Amber. That's certainly an interesting look you have. I don't believe I've ever met someone with quite so many tattoos in our social circle. Something in me snapped. All the hurt, the betrayal, the forced politeness, it crystallized into a moment of absolute clarity. With all due respect, Mrs. Thompson, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Amber is a talented graphic designer whose body art represents significant moments in her life. Her appearance has nothing to do with her character, her intelligence, or what she brings to my life. Just as my career or apartment, or lack of polish, has nothing to do with my worth as Jessica's brother. The table fell silent. Patricia's mouth opened and closed, like a fish out of water. You don't get to reject someone and then demand their presence. I continued, looking directly at Jessica now. You don't get to tell me I'm not good enough for your engagement dinner and then expect me to show up and play happy families when it's convenient for your narrative. Logan, Mom started, her tone warning. No, Mom, this needs to be said. I was explicitly told I wasn't welcome at the engagement dinner because I didn't meet some arbitrary standard of sophistication, that Amber's tattoos wouldn't make a good impression. And now everyone's acting shocked that I made other plans and didn't read minds about suddenly being wanted. The stunned silence that followed was broken by the most unexpected voice, Ryan's. Is that true? He asked, looking between Jessica and his parents. Did you tell Logan he wasn't welcome because of some social status nonsense? Patricia's face flushed. We simply suggested to Jessica that certain guests might be more appropriate for the formal announcement. It's about appearances, darling. You understand how these things work in our circles. Ryan's expression darkened. No, Mother, I don't understand excluding my fiancé's only brother because he doesn't fit your idea of the right image. Jessica burst into tears, creating the scene everyone had been trying so hard to avoid. I was just trying to make everyone happy. Your parents made those comments, and I didn't know what to do. And then Logan found out and got upset. And now everything's ruined. The emotional manipulation might have worked before, but now it just highlighted how dysfunctional the situation had become. I looked at Amber, who gave me a small nod. We both stood up. I think we've cleared up the confusion about last night, I said calmly. Jessica, I hope your wedding planning goes smoothly from here. Mom, Dad, enjoy the rest of brunch. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson it was. Informative meeting you. We turned to leave, ignoring Mom's hissed Logan sit down. Behind us, I could hear the raised voices, as the facade of polite pretense finally shattered completely. In the lobby, Ryan caught up with us. Logan, wait. Please. I paused, surprised by the genuine distress in his voice. I had no idea, he said, running a hand through his hair in agitation, about any of this. I asked Jessica weeks ago if you were coming to the dinner. She said you had a work thing, but would be at other events. I never would have gone along with excluding you. His sincerity seemed genuine, which was the only reason I didn't walk away immediately. It's not your fault. Your parents are snobs. I said, more tired than angry now. No, but it is my fault for not seeing what was happening, for not questioning things more. He glanced back toward the private dining room, then at us again. Jessica's not usually like this. The pressure from my family, it's intense. But that's no excuse. No, it's not, I agreed. I'm sorry, he said simply. Truly. This isn't how I wanted our families to come together. Something in his earnest apology reached through my anger. Despite everything, I found myself believing that Ryan truly hadn't been part of the exclusion plot. Just take care of my sister, I said finally. And maybe have a talk with your parents about judging people based on appearances. He nodded solemnly. I will, on both counts. As Amber and I walked to retrieve our car, I felt strangely lighter. The confrontation had been painful, but necessary. And somewhere in the wreckage of brunch, I'd found an unexpected ally in Ryan, perhaps the beginning of a bridge across this family chasm. Back to the beach, Amber asked as we slid into the car. Absolutely, I replied, reaching for her hand. We have an unfinished weekend to enjoy. The 2 weeks following the brunch confrontation were notably silent from my family's end. No calls from Mom trying to smooth things over. No texts from Jessica, with tearful apologies or further accusations. The silence was both a relief and a new kind of ache, the space where family communication should be. Amber was my rock throughout this period, neither pushing me to reconcile nor encouraging me to cut ties. This is your family, she said one evening, as we made dinner together. Whatever you decide about your relationship with them going forward, I support you, but don't let their judgment define your worth. I was surprised when my phone displayed Ryan's name one Tuesday afternoon. We'd had no contact since the brunch debacle. Logan, he said. When I answered his voice, carrying a mix of caution and determination, I was hoping we could meet for coffee, just you and me. We arranged to meet at a neutral coffee shop halfway between our workplaces the following day. I arrived first claiming a corner table and ordering a black coffee that I didn't touch, my stomach too knotted with anticipation to risk caffeine. Ryan arrived precisely on time, dressed in business casual that likely cost more than my entire wardrobe, but carrying himself with none of the pretension his parents exuded. He ordered a complicated espresso drink and took the seat across from me, his expression serious. Thank you for meeting me, he began. I've wanted to talk to you since that brunch, but I thought you might need some space. I nodded, appreciating his perception. So talk. First, I want to be absolutely clear. I had no idea you were deliberately excluded from the engagement dinner. When Jessica said you couldn't make it, I took that at face value. His directness was refreshing after weeks of half-truths and manipulations. I believe you, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. After the brunch, I had some difficult conversations with Jessica, he continued, about honesty, about family loyalty, about the kind of relationship I thought we were building versus the reality that came to light. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I was beginning to recognize as a sign of genuine distress. She admitted everything. How my parents had made those comments about you and Amber not fitting their image. How she'd gone along with it rather than standing up for you. The confirmation of Jessica's complicity still stung despite having already known the truth. And how did that make you feel, I asked, sounding more like a therapist than I intended. Honestly, disappointed. Angry. Confused about who I was really engaged to. He met my eyes directly. I love your sister Logan, but I don't love the person who would throw her brother under the bus to impress my parents. The raw honesty in his voice was compelling. So where does that leave you two? We're working through it, he said after a moment. I made it clear that family, real family, not the artificial image my parents are so obsessed with, is important to me. That includes treating you and Amber with respect. He took a sip of his coffee before continuing. I also had some long overdue conversations with my parents about their snobbery, their judgmental attitudes, their obsession with appearances. It didn't go well initially. My mother actually suggested postponing the wedding when I told her I wouldn't tolerate them dictating who was appropriate for family gatherings. This surprised me. You stood up to them. For us? Ryan looked almost offended. Of course I did. What happened was wrong on every level. Plus, he added with a hint of a smile, I actually like you. We got along great before all this nonsense. And from what little I've seen of Amber, she seems awesome. The compliment so casually delivered helped dissolve some of the remaining tension between us. She is pretty awesome, I agreed. Look, Ryan said, leaning forward, I'm not asking you to forgive and forget. What happened was genuinely hurtful and wrong. But I am asking if you'd be willing to have a conversation with Jessica. She's been a mess these past 2 weeks. I think she genuinely regrets her choices. I considered his request, weighing my lingering hurt against the decades of sibling history that predated this rift. I'll think about it, I said finally. That's all I can promise right now. Ryan nodded, accepting this limited commitment. Fair enough. And for what it's worth, I've made it clear to everyone, Jessica, my parents, your parents, that I won't be part of any future exclusion or disrespect toward you or Amber. As we parted ways, I felt the first tentative hope that perhaps something positive might emerge from this painful episode. The call from Jessica came 3 days later. Unlike Ryan's straightforward request to meet her, message was halting, uncertain. Logan, it's me, I don't know if you want to talk to me right now, and I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. But I need to apologize. Not over the phone, in person. Please. Against my better judgment, perhaps, I agreed to meet her at the park where we'd played as children. When I arrived, she was already there, sitting on a bench looking smaller and less polished than usual in jeans and a simple sweater. She stood when she saw me, her eyes already reddened from earlier tears. Thank you for coming, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. We sat side by side on the bench, watching a group of children play on the same equipment we'd once enjoyed. The parallel wasn't lost on me how simple relationships had been then, before adult expectations and social hierarchies complicated everything. I'm so sorry, Logan, Jessica finally said, turning to face me directly. What I did was unforgivable. I betrayed you in the worst way. Why, I asked, the single word carrying the weight of all my hurt. After everything we've been through together, why would you allow anyone to treat Amber that way? Jessica's gaze dropped to her hands, twisting nervously in her lap. I was trying so hard to fit into Ryan's world. His parents are intimidating. When his mother made those comments about Amber's tattoos, about your job not being prestigious enough, I should have defended you both immediately. Instead, I panicked. I thought if I could just keep you separate from them at first, then integrate you gradually. You were ashamed of us, I stated flatly. No? Yes. I don't know. Her honesty, though painful, was at least real. I was weak. I was so afraid of losing my place in this perfect future, I'd imagined that I sacrificed the person who's always been there for me. There's no excuse for that, Logan. None. Her tears flowed freely now, but I held myself back from offering the easy comfort I would have provided without hesitation in the past. Ryan says you two are working things out, I said instead. She nodded, wiping her eyes. He almost broke off the engagement. He said he couldn't marry someone who would treat her family the way I treated you. It was the wake-up call I needed. She looked up at me, her expression raw with remorse. I don't care about impressing the Thompsons anymore. I care about not losing my brother. I sat with her words, testing them against my still wounded heart. I want to believe you, Jess, but trust is easier to break than rebuild. I know, she whispered. I don't expect immediate forgiveness. I just want a chance to earn back your trust. To be your sister again, the one who deserves your love, not the one who threw it away for social climbing. Her sincerity was palpable, and despite my residual hurt, I found myself wanting to believe in the possibility of reconciliation. It's going to take time, I said finally. And it's not just about me. You owe Amber an apology too. Of course, Jessica agreed immediately. I was hoping. Maybe we could have dinner. Just the four of us. You, Amber, me, and Ryan. Something small and genuine. A fresh start. The proposal was modest but significant. A direct contrast to the elaborate exclusionary event that had triggered our rift. I'll talk to Amber about it, I promised. Our conversation with our parents proved more challenging. Mom initially tried to downplay the situation, claiming she'd only been trying to keep the peace by not standing up to the Thompson snobbery. That's not keeping the peace, Mom, I told her firmly. That's sacrificing one child's dignity to avoid rocking the boat with strangers. Dad, surprisingly, was more receptive to accountability. "We were wrong, son," he said, his gruff directness unusual but welcome. "Got caught up in the Thompson family name and their fancy connections. Forgot what really matters." His simple acknowledgement meant more than Mom's elaborate justifications. It was a start. The Fresh Start dinner Jessica had proposed took place at my apartment 2 weeks later, neutral territory, with no pretensions. Amber prepared her famous lasagna, I handled salad and dessert, and Jessica and Ryan brought wine and bread from a local bakery. The initial awkwardness gradually gave way to something approaching normal conversation. Ryan and I discovered more shared interests, particularly a mutual enthusiasm for hiking that led to tentative plans for a day trip. Jessica made a point of asking Amber about her latest design projects, showing genuine interest in her creative process. The breakthrough moment came unexpectedly as Jessica helped me clear dinner dishes while Ryan and Amber debated the merits of different design software in the living room. "Ryan and I have been talking," Jessica said quietly, rinsing a plate, "about the wedding." I tensed, slightly bracing for another potential conflict. "Oh, we're scaling it way back. No enormous country club extravaganza, something smaller, more authentic." She glanced toward the living room, where Ryan was laughing at something Amber had said. "Ryan's parents aren't thrilled, but he's standing firm. Says he'd rather have a wedding that reflects who we really are than a society spectacle." The shift in priorities seemed genuine, a tangible sign that lessons had been learned from our family crisis. "That sounds nice," I offered cautiously. "More meaningful." Jessica set down the dish she was washing and turned to me fully. "Ryan also wanted me to ask you something, but he thought it might be better coming from me." She took a deep breath. "He'd like you to be his best man." The request caught me completely off guard. Me, not one of his childhood friends or business associates. He says he wants to start our marriage with the right priorities. That means having his future brother-in-law, the person who's meant more to me than anyone standing beside him. She watched my face anxiously. "You can say no. We'd understand." The old hurt flickered, but alongside it grew something new. Hope for a healthier family dynamic going forward. "I'd be honored," I said, meaning it. Despite the complicated emotions still swirling beneath the surface, Jessica's smile was worth every bit of the difficult journey we'd traveled. In the months that followed, our family relationship slowly healed. Not perfectly, there were still moments of tension, still occasional missteps, as we all learned new patterns of interaction. Ryan's parents remained somewhat stiff around Amber and me, but they made visible efforts to engage without judgment. Small victories, but meaningful ones. The wedding day arrived with surprisingly little drama. Standing beside Ryan, as he waited for Jessica to walk down the aisle, I reflected on the long, painful road that had led us here from exclusion and hurt to this moment of genuine connection. "Nervous?" I asked Ryan, noticing him adjusting his tie for the third time. "About marrying Jessica? Not at all." His smile was confident, genuine. "About the toast your father's planning to give? Absolutely terrified." We shared a laugh, the easy camaraderie between us now natural and unforced. As I watched my sister approach radiant in a simpler gown than she might have chosen before our family upheaval, I felt a profound sense of peace. The journey through hurt and betrayal had ultimately led to something stronger: relationships based on authenticity rather than appearances, on mutual respect rather than social positioning. Family isn't about appearances or social status. It's about showing up for each other authentically, even when it's hard. Sometimes the people who hurt us most can change, but only if we have the courage to show them how. I'm grateful every day that I stood in my truth, even when it was painful, because it ultimately led us all to a more honest place. Have you ever had to stand your ground with family members who weren't treating you with respect? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. Remember, sometimes the hardest boundaries to set are with the people we love most, but often they're also the most necessary. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the courage to always stand in your truth,